Hello everyone, in this video we're going to do a introduction to LangChain. In the past couple of videos we used Streamlit and we used the API directly from Groq in order to create a couple of AI applications. Now when it's time to build more complex applications, using a framework is a good option because there's a lot of boilerplate code that you might have to write if you don't use a framework like LangChain. So in here, we're going to look at what LangChain is and why we should use LangChain to build more complex AI applications. You can access the documentation by going to langchain.com, and then in docs, you can go to LangChain here and you will land on this page. So LangChain is a framework for developing applications powered by large language models. LangChain will simplify every stage of your LLM application lifecycle. It will help you during development by providing multiple components and third-party integrations from different providers like OpenAI, Groq, Perplexity, and many more. It can help you during production using LangSmith, which is going to help you inspect, monitor, and evaluate your applications. And during development, it can help you also, during deployment, it will help you to deploy your application and have a production ready API to use in their platform. Now, why should we use LangChain? Why should we implement add this framework to our new applications that we're going to build moving forward? So the problem is that when you have multiple LLMs, let's say you have OpenAI, you have Groq, you have multiple other providers, and then you have multiple components that are needed in order to build more complex applications like document loaders, crawlers. You have a lot of tools that in order for them to work together seamlessly, you have to do a lot of boilerplate code in order to integrate them together. Now, LangChain provides a framework that is already implemented a standardized interface, so it will allow you to integrate multiple models from multiple companies or providers, and also multiple tools that they can work together very easily to build a chain where you can build complex AI applications like agents and anything else you would like to build. Also, the architecture of LangChain is super easy to use. In here, they have multiple packages that you can use if you just need specific integration from like OpenAI or Anthropic. You could just install those two. But the main package that we're going to be using is the LangChain core. This one is going to have the chat models of integrations, vector stores, and tools that are going to help us build AI agents in the future videos. They also have LangChain, which contains like the chains that you can do to build RAG applications. So you can also use all of that in there inside of your applications. You have separate integration packages that are going to be specifically for like very famous providers and tools like OpenAI, and they have their own separate package if you just want to install that specific one. Then they have a LangChain community where they have multiple third-party integrations that are maintained by the community, and we will be using some of the tools from there as well. And then LangGraph, which is an extension of LangChain, and to build robust and stable multi-actor applications with LLM. And they have other packages that will help you build REST APIs, and then LangSmith, which is a development platform that lets you debug and test and evaluate and monitor your LLM applications. And we're going to be integrating LangSmith in the next video. Now, the first thing we're going to be installing the LangChain core, which is going to have our chat models. And the chat models are going to be the OpenAI models that we're going to use in Groq. And you can just use Groq if you just want to keep it free, because OpenAI now has a billing that is required to set up, but that is optional. I will show you how to set up multiple models in the same application, but if you just want to follow along with Groq, it will be completely fine. That is going to be the main one that I'm going to be using anyways. So when you use multiple models, you might have to do things differently. So OpenAI might have a different API than Groq, or Groq might have a different API from Anthropic, or any other models. They might have different implementations. So with LangChain, we're going to have a consistent interface to working with chat models. They have multiple integration. They are listed here. We have Groq, we have Anthropic, OpenAI, Microsoft Azure. You have them all in here, Hugging Face as well. Now, we're going to have access to tool calling, a standard interface to bind different tools to our models. So a lot of this integration and boilerplate that we have to write ourselves, it has already been done with LangChain, and then they have all these other components that they bring into the framework, so you can build more complex change of multiple components and have more complex applications. Now, in order to get started, of course, we're going to continue using Python. So you probably already have Python installed, but you can go here if you don't have it and download it. I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code again. You can download it here for free if you don't have it, or you can use your preferred IDE. We're going to continue using Groq Cloud, where you can get your API key here for free. And if you also want to follow along with OpenAI, which you don't have to, I'm going to just show you anyways. And you can also bring your API and add it to the project. We're going to be using Streamlit to continue building the UI. So here's the Streamlit documentation that we're going to continue using for this application. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a folder in my desktop here, but you can create your folder project anywhere you want. I'm going to create a new folder, and we're going to build a AI translator app, so we can have our introduction to LangChain. Now I'm going to open this up with VS Code. Let me bring this here. There we go. Let me put these two side by side so we can continue from there. Now for the dependencies that we need for our project, we're going to create a new file, call it requirements.txt. And here we're going to list of the dependencies that we need, and we're going to install, like I mentioned before, we're going to do our LangChain core. So we're going to type in here, LangChain, and then -core. We also want to install the LangChain OpenAI, the OpenAI integration, and the LangChain Groq integration as well. And then we want to add Streamlit for building the UI, and let's install .env so we can manage our environment variables. Now we're going to create a virtual environment here. So we're going to press on our keyboard Control-Shift-P. We're going to bring up the palette here, and we're going to search for Python create environment, which you can see here. You can just type that in there, and we're going to click on that. We're gonna pick the first option, VENV, for the virtual environment we're gonna build. And you can pick the latest Python interpreter that you have. Mine is 3.12. And then select the requirements.txt so you can install all your dependencies right away. Now this is going to go ahead and create your virtual environment and install all the dependencies that we need. Now this could take a minute or two, so I'm going to pause here and continue as soon as it is done. Let me show you in the meantime, in here, back into the documentation here, you have more integration packages here that you can find the OpenAI that we're using, and they are kind of like listed here for different models. What happened here? Select interpreter again. Looks like mine threw an error there, but I think it's fine now. But for now, we're going to continue with those two that we install right now, which is LangChain, OpenAI, and Groq. Now let's create a app.py. App.py. And let's also create a .env in here. This .env file. So what we're going to do in the .env file is that we're going to create two environment variables so we can paste our environment variables keys. And then we're going to, or API key, let's type in here Groq underscore API underscore key for the Groq. And the next one is going to be OpenAI underscore API underscore key equals here. Now we can go over to Groq, and then you can go to API keys, and you can generate a new API key for this project, and you can paste it in here. I'm gonna paste mine in there, and I'm just gonna show you here with no, well, I'm not gonna show you my API keys, but you can paste it in here with no quotes. Just copy and paste the key in there, and then save this file. If you want to follow along with also the OpenAI, you can also paste the OpenAI key here, but it's not required. I will show you how you can use different models in the project, but if you don't want to use this one right now, it is okay. You can continue with the free Groq API key. All right, so now that is saved and we are doing good. Let's go back to documentation here. Now in here, let's test this out by importing Streamlit. Import Streamlit as st. And here we're gonna do st.title. And let's see if we get a AI Translator App to display. Let's save that, and we're going to open up a terminal here. You can click here, terminal, new terminal. And in here, we're just going to type Streamlit run and then app.py so we can run the development server. All right, press enter there, and we can hide the terminal for now because it's already running. And here we go, we can see it in there. Cool, so let's take care first of the building most of the UI that we're going to have for this prototype that we're building. So in here, we're gonna say, this is the UI. Down here, we're going to have a divider, st.divider, and once you save again, you can click at the top right. It's probably covered by my picture there, but it should say always rerun, so it can refresh the page every time we saved. And here, let's also do a sd.markdown. Markdown. And we're gonna pass asterisk, asterisk, and then we're gonna say translate text to any language. Like so. There we go. That's fine. Keep it like this. Now, if you are completely new to like Streamlit, you can go to, again, the documentation. You can go to stream.io, find the docs, and then in the API reference, you will have all the different methods that you can use to show the text, just like we're doing a title, like we're doing here, st.title, st.markdown, and then they have multiple components that we're gonna use down here. So you can go and see different example there if you're brand new to Streamlit. Now we're going to need a select box, which is going to list the available language that you can translate your text to. So we're going to store that in a variable. We're going to call language underscore to underscore translates. And then we're going to set that equals to st.select box. And here we're going to pass a, let's press enter here, label equals, and we're going to say here language. Let's do to translate to. And then put a comma there, go to the next line, and let's pass the options. And set that to a list of different languages that we're going to be able to select. So we can start with English, save that. We can see the select box here. Let's put Spanish. You can put any languages that you want. I'm just gonna throw a couple of them here so we can have a few. And then let's do Japanese. But feel free to add all the languages that you want to list in here. Cool. So depending on the model, if the model can translate to all the languages, you know, you can put any language you want, but I'm just listing a few here just so we can see a longer list. Now, if we go down to the next line here, we're going to need a text area where the user can like paste the text they want to translate. So we're going to say text underscore to underscore translate. We're going to set that equals to a st.text underscore area. And in here, we're going to pass just a string that says paste text here. And put this here. Cool. Now, the last thing we're going to need for now is going to be a button. So let's say translate underscore btn equals to st.button. And we're going to pass here translate. Cool. So this is the UI we're going to use. So let's see, what else do we need? I think this could be a little bit closer here. That's fine. Now we're going to start adding the different components that we need from LangChain. So at the top, we're going to, let's import first our models, right? So we're going to say here, let's do from a LangChain dash core or underscore core. import, we're gonna import here the chat Groq, and we're going to copy this down and also import the chat OpenAI, which is optional, but I'm going to show you how easy it will be to work with different models. And let's also down here, let's import, let's say from dot env import load underscore env or dot env, and then we're going to call load.env right away. All right, so here, let's say you cannot import chat Groq from LangChain core. And yeah, this is my mistake here. So we don't import it from here. Remember that we installed these two separately here. So we need to say, instead of core, is they have their separate package here. So is Groq, and this one is OpenAI. Save that. There you go, no errors. Okay, so now this is the right import. The one we're going to use from LangChain core is going to be the chat prompt template that we're going to use, and we'll do that in a bit here. Let's first see how we can initialize our models. So here we're going to say models, and here we're going to have the Groq model here. We're just going to say that equals to or Groq underscore LLM, and we're going to say chat Groq in here, and we're going to we need to pass the API key here because the API keys are going to be set or loaded here, and this will automatically look for the environment variables that we defined with the API keys. But you could pass it here. You could pass API underscore key, but we don't need to do that. What we need to pass in here is the model that we want to use. So basically, you could just call it like this, and it will default to like the default model here. So if I go back to the playground here, and let me give you a little bit more room here. So in the playground here, you have all of these different models available, and you can, this is probably the default one that it would choose, but you can also pick and pass the name of any of these models that you want. So if I want to use mixed route, I can put this name here, or if I want to use another version of Llama, I can pass like Llama 3 AB 8192 in here. So I can say model equals, and then in here I'm going to say Llama 3 dash AB dash 8192, right? And then that is everything I need to do here. I can do the same with OpenAI. So let me just click here. I can create a let's say GPT or OpenAI underscore LLM, just to keep the name consistent, equals to chat OpenAI. And here I can just leave it empty. It's going to default to probably the GPT-4 Mini O, and we should be good to go. But if you want to pass a different model, you can do the same as we did here. Now, if we want to now work with the models, we can just invoke these models right away. And let's say if we wanted to, let's go back to the app now in here. And if I just say, let's say results equals, or result is fine. Let's do Groq LLM dot invoke, and I can pass my prompt here. So let's say I want to ask, what is the most spoken language? And then we're going to do st.write. I'm going to pass the results in here, dot content, and go ahead and save that there. Now here we go. We have a response from our model, from Groq, specifically from Llama 3, because we're using the Groq API. And here's the response. I'm writing the response directly here so we can see it more easily instead of the terminal, but you can print it to the terminal if you want to. So here you got the response: Mandarin, Spanish, English, Hindi, Arabic, and many more. So here is the response from the model. Now, this is one model, right? This is from Groq. So this is the provider that we're using. But what if we have multiple providers for different tasks, right? You have this standard library that makes everything so much easier. Like, you don't have to look at the specific API. Now you can just have a different, let's say, response equals to OpenAI. And then we can use the same method, right? We share the same method here. We can ask the same questions here to see the response. And let me put an SD, not there, but let me pass the question here first. And then put a SD dot divider here. See if it works to separate this from SD dot write. And then we're gonna pass the response dot content. And go ahead and save that. All right, so the response from Llama 3 from Groq is at the top, right? So we got basically very similar to what we got previously. It gave us kind of less information now. And then after the divider, we have the response from ChatGPT or OpenAI. We can look at the whole entire response if we wanted to. So we can let's just write it there. Hopefully it's not too big. And we can look at the information here. So give it another second. So look at the response object in here, or the completion object, whatever we get back. So we have the content property, which actually has the text that we are writing in here. Then you have additional arguments. You have the amount of tokens that you use, the prompt tokens. So you have all that information in there. Audio token 0, because we're not using audio. And then look at the model that is using. This is the default one. So it's using GPT 3.5 Turbo, but you can specify the one that you want to use here. And then you have the type of response, name, ID, and no tool. So you got all the information here. So this will be the same as if we print basically the result from this one, right? Let's compare those two. And then we'll move on with the application. So here you have content, right? The response. You have the same information here, model name, and the same for the OpenAI. So we share the same interface. So everything that you can do for the Groq provider, you can do it for OpenAI. Cool. So you can comment this out or you can delete it. I'm going to delete this here. You can keep it there if you want to kind of like make a note of that in there. So now, every time we want to, so our application is going to be a translator app. So there's going to be a task that this application is going to do. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring in what is called a prompt template, which is going to have kind of like a template of the prompt and the different values that we need in order to send the prompt over to the model so it can translate the text and we can tell the model exactly what we want. So we're going to say from LangChain underscore core, we're going to do dot prompts in here is prompts, right? I think it's prompts. Yeah, prompts. Let's import a chat prompt template. And here, LangChain core. There you go. So in here, we're going to go down here and now we're going to create a chat prompt template. And the template is going to have basically the list of messages that we're going to be sending to the model. Remember, we're using conversational models. So if we go back to Groq here in the playground, right? You know, we have a system prompt that we can tell this, we can set like the persona of the model. We can say you are a helpful assistant, and we can say you will always add a joke to the end of the response. Okay, Siri, that was not for you. Right, so this is kind of like setting the persona or like the default behavior we want the model kind of like telling the model how to act. So when we send in here our first prompt, we can just say what is the most spoken language spoken here, and go ahead and send that. So we're going to click. So here we have a system message, right? And then this is our user message. Every message that we send is us, the user. So when we hit submit, we get this here. So we get the most spoken language in the world is Mandarin. And then at the end, we have a joke, right? We have a little joke that we told the model to always add a joke to our response. So we kind of like setting how we want the model to act, how we want to respond, friendly, professional, etc. We can set all that up in there. So basically here we have a list of messages, right? We have the system message, which is just the first message that we need to send. And then we send our message, and then we get this system message, which is the model responding back to us. Same thing is going to happen in the chat prompt template that we're going to build. So here we're going to create a variable for the system. We need to create a system message here. Let's just create the chat underscore prompt underscore template here. We're going to set that equals to chat prompt template, right? To create a new chat prompt template there. And we're going to use the dot from underscore messages method, and then we're going to hit enter there. So here we're going to pass some messages to the model, basically how we just did in the playground. So here we're going to pass a list, and then a tuple, so parentheses, and then in quotes we're going to say this is a system message, and then we're going to pass the message here. And for this one, we're going to say, you are a professional translator your task is to translate the following or the following text is fine. The following text to, right? And then we're going to specify the language we want the model to translate to. So here we're going to put kind of like a variable, right? A placeholder here where we can then say this is what we're going to pass the language that we want to translate to. So that's the first message there. Now we're going to separate and press enter here. And then after that first message, comma, we're going to send another one and another tuple. So parentheses, and here we're going to send a user message, right? And we're going to pass the text. Actually, is a variable that's going to say text, and that's what we're going to pass the text that we want to translate to. So we're sending this list of messages, right? We're first saying, hey, you are a professional translator. Your task is to translate the following text to language, to whatever language you pass here. We're going to get the language from this variable here from the select box. And then the second message is a user message saying, hey, this is the text, and this is basically the text that I want you to translate. So same thing that we did in the playground. Now, that would generate a list with different messages. So if we call here, let's say this is basically the prompt that we're going to send. The whole entire conversation is going to be basically our prompt. And we're going to, let's go and let's see this first. So let's do sd.write, and let's pass the chat prompt template. And this is what we have right now. So this object has no name. This is the input variables that we have. So we have two input variables. We have the language that we need to provide, and then the text that we need to provide. Then you have this messages list where the first message is a system prompt template message, and the prompt, it says it's a prompt template, input variables, and has all the information here. And the template is, you are a professional translator. Your task is to translate the following text to, and it has the variable there. And then the second is in LangChain is called a human message prompt template, not a user message, but we need to just pass user here, and it will generate this human message. And is going to have just a template here which says, here's the text, and this is the variable we need to provide the text in. Now that we have that there, we can go and say prompt equals, and we're going to call that chat prompt template. And all we need to do is invoke it. We're going to say invoke. And here we're going to pass an object or a dictionary. And we need to provide a value for these two variables. So the first one is language. And we're going to say what value do we want to pass to language. Remember, we're getting the language from the select box. So from this variable, we're just going to copy that and provide it here. Then a comma, and then here the other input variable that we need to provide is the text. So we're going to say text colon, and then the text is going to be inside of this variable here from the text area, and we're going to pass it in there. Now let's sd.write this prompt and take a look at this here first, right? We have the variables here, right? This is the prompt template, but now we're invoking the prompt template with the values that we want to pass inside of this input variables. And let's go ahead and save this and see how it's going to look. Now we have this object, which is our prompt, and it has a list of messages, the system and the human message. And in here you have the content of the system message. You are a professional translator. Your task is translate the following text to, it says English because that's the one we have selected right now. And then for the human message, it says content is empty because we haven't provided anything here. But let's say if we want to say hello world in here, and go ahead and say this again. Now we have that text in there, right? We provided the text, we provided the language we want to translate to. So now this prompt is ready to send it off to the model, right? Now the model will receive this list of messages and give us back a response. So let's go ahead and invoke our model. So we're gonna say this is the result equals to, let's use the chat, the, what is it, Groq LLM that invoke, and here we're going to pass the prompt, right? This list of messages that we put together. Go ahead and save that, but I need to do the right so we can see the results here more readable. And here you go. Right now looks like it's translated to French. And then it's going to go and give us back the response, right? That's weird. Okay, we'll check it out. But we got some content, right? We got a content here for the translation. Then we have all this metadata in here. And then we have, what else we have? Then we have, where is the type? So the type of messages we receive is an AI message, right? That's what this message is. So let's not worry about the language right now. We can test that out in a second. But let's try to invoke it with the OpenAI LLM. And go ahead and save this. Okay, so, okay, so this is we are sending this English message here, and we say, hey, translate it to English. So the other model is like, it just translated it to French, I guess. So let's pick, let's say Spanish, and go ahead and it's gonna reload, and now it says Hola Mundo, right? Which is hello world. So OpenAI did better because it was like, translate to English, that is already English, and it gave you back that the same translation, right? The same text. But the llama was like, okay, I just gonna translate it to French, I guess. Okay, so I guess that's what it predicted, that we wanted to translate it to French instead. Cool. So now we see that we can invoke both of these using basically the same method that we used previously. And the only thing that we're missing now is kind of like make it translate only when we press here. So that way we'll make this prototype functional. So let's go ahead and delete this here. And we're going to check if translate button and text underscore to translate is true. And we're going to make sure it's not empty by doing that stripped. And then if it's not equals to a empty string, then we're going to go ahead and do something down here. Now we can show a kind of like a spinner here. Let's say st.spinner. That will say translating, to give the user some feedback that we working on getting the translation done. And then here we're going to create a empty container where we're going to use the streaming option, which is super easy to use here, to stream the response back from the model instead of just making the user wait. For that, spinner is probably not going to see it very well, but let's use the same method we used to see this spinner, and then here, then we do the streaming part. Yeah, let's do it that way. So let's create a placeholder variable here where we're going to just assign st.empty, which this is going to be an empty container that we can put things inside when we have the information. Now we're going to say placeholder equals to, let's try Groq again, see if Groq doesn't disappoint this time, dot invoke, and let's pass our prompt in here. All right, so we can have an else statement here that will say else if only the translate button was pressed. We could say st.error to show an error to the user and say please provide the text to translate in here. Now, right now, nothing happens. We have the hello world, we have Spanish. Now we click translate. Let me see. We have this empty container that we're going to fill with the response here. So let's see if that works. Nothing happens. Let's see if we have, I didn't see the spinner. Oh, you know why? Because I think this spinner here will need to be inside of this context here. So let's say with spinner, and then show this here. Actually, we can create this outside of here. Put this here, put this inside. Let's try it now, see if it works. Go ahead and translate. And it's not displaying it, so translating. Okay, so getting this is fine. So the placeholder, I don't think it's equal signs. I think it should be like dot. What is it? I think it's dot text. Dot text, and then yeah, I think this is a method that we need to pass in here. Try to save it now. Go ahead and translate. Okay, all right, so we get in the response here. The spinner still doesn't work in here. Might be doing something wrong there, but that's fine. We're gonna take that off anyways because it's gonna stream the response. So we're not gonna wait until the whole response is completed and then just show all the text. We're gonna have the replication of like ChatGPT when they show you like all the chunks of text that is being generated. So here we have the content property again. That is only the text. Prompt chat has no content. I just saw the content in there. But anyways, let's see it again. Translate. Content is right there. So invoke prompt. And then prompt. Oh, okay. So is the dot content here? That's what we need. Translate again. All right, there we go. So now we can put any text we want in here, and we tried out a longer text, and then we can click translate. But right now, if it's a very long text, let me grab some say, let's do a Spanish text to read. And let's go to this website or any website, any text you want to grab and say level 1 here. Let's grab some of the text here. And let's grab this whole entire thing here. And let's bring it over to our app, which now I want to translate it to like English. And let's put all the Spanish text in here. Let's say translate. And what we see here, what we're going to see is that our app is going to take some time, right, to translate everything. So it says here's the translation of the text to English, and it provides the translation here. And that way that the user needs to wait to wait while the response get back is not the best user experience, because if it's a really large text, the model could take way longer. But most of the models are super fast, but the streaming is a better experience. So let's change this up in here a bit so we can have the streaming part. So we're gonna get rid of the spinner here because we're not gonna wait anymore, and that didn't show anyways. And what we're gonna do, let's create a variable here. Let's say full underscore translation equals to an empty string. And what I want to do, I want to concatenate the chunks of text that we're going to get back when we're streaming the response. So we're not going to wait, we're just going to stream those chunks. So we're going to say for chunk in, so let's use Groq again. And then we're going to do that stream method, and we're going to pass our prompt, right? Very similar to the invoke, but stream we need to put it inside of a for loop so we can get every single chunk. Now let's concatenate to full translation. So plus equals the chunk dot content, right? Same thing. And then we're going to call the placeholder again. And to the placeholder, we want to pass placeholder.text. We want to pass the full translation here. So we append it, and then we show the appended string to the inside of the UI. So now for the last thing, we're going to hit translate again. Hopefully we'll see the streaming part here. Is way too fast. Let's see if we can grab some more text. Oh, text. Grab this too. Bring it over to the bottom. And let's press translate again. Sometimes because of the reloading that we don't see it. Oh, okay. It's super fast. So it's not even able to we're not even able to see it really quick because it's so fast. But if we want to like really see if it's doing it, we could like print each chunk, right? And then we can open the terminal, and once I save here again and click translate, let's look at the terminal here and look at all the chunks that we're getting back. Right, so we get the chunks and we add it to the UI. It's just so fast that we really not seeing it being displayed properly, but it's fine. It's working completely. So this is the end of the application. Let's celebrate that this is the end by just putting an st.balloons here. Missing an O here. Okay. And then save that. And let's go and translate it to, let's say, I don't know, let's do French, and then translate. There you go. Yay. Perfect. So this is a prototype now that you can deploy, you can share and present, show to your employers It shows how you're making use of LangChain to build a translator app that uses either Groq or OpenAI to translate any text to any language that you listen here. And that is kind of like your introduction here of LangChain. We're going to build more complex applications, but I want to build some other apps that will show you like how to use the models, how to use a vector, do embeddings, and then we'll build like agents that are going to be more complex, where we can build more complex chains that are going to chain up multiple components and make you understand the little parts when we put all, which is going to help you when we put everything together to build the agents. So hope you like this video, and I will see you in the next one.